Right, guys. So again, we wanted to jump onto this podcast so that we could really make sure that, everybody was getting the information that they need. It's difficult at the minute in lockdown. Everyone's routines changed and things. So I wanted to bring Alex and Jamie into this podcast today to just have a chat and just go through, realistically, what are some really good key action points that everybody can do, everybody can take away. And everyone can work on from day one, from now, from listening to this podcast or watching it, if you're watching it on YouTube or anything like that, then what can you do from now so that you start moving towards your goals? And I think that that's so important because the last couple of weeks, it's been really difficult for people. I think that, guys, you two will have both seen it. Alex, obviously, you'll have seen it from sort of the perspective of being in work and not being in work. Jamie, I know that you've seen it similar to me from a perspective of your working hours have gone mental in terms of the actual amount of time that you're working, but the structure is completely different. So just let's start off, guys. I mean, where are people up to in terms of the overall routine? What are you guys finding from speaking to clients or from yourselves, your own personal experience in terms of what's going on at the minute with routine in comparison to how it usually is for training, usually is for diet? And so on. Alex, we'll go to you first.
Well, for me, from a personal point of view, when I wasn't working, it was a time thing. Even though you've got all the time in the world, it seems like time just disappears. So you might have all these grand ideas to train and cook and everything, but by the time it comes, you've woke up later than you normally would have done. You've made your breakfast, which inevitably seems to take longer than what it normally would do because you're not making the same breakfasts. By the time that's done, it's lunchtime, and then your days you're making tea. There's no time to train. So from my point of view, from that, I've had to really knuckle down and stick to a routine of doing my workout, my just rigidity more than anything, because all the time in the world and nothing seems to get done. And I think there's a lot of people I've spoke to are in a very similar position. They've got all the will in the world to want to do the training, and they want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, the time seems to get away from them, which sounds silly when people have got more time. But I think if they haven't structured the day and they don't almost value of having some structure in the day, you don't tend to you'll miss all the stuff that you need to do. And that's where I think a lot of people are at, which is where this 30-day challenge is probably has come in at the right time.
Yeah, we saw that a lot, didn't we, in the first couple of weeks? Obviously, for ourselves, I think that structure was certainly for me, but I know from speaking to you every couple of hours for the first few weeks, every day, that we were in the office a hell of a lot, but similar issues in terms of, because it was such a change to routine, such a change in terms of structure. Rather than going into work at these times, eating at these times, training at these times, everything was sort of turned on its head. For us, we were just in the office, but for clients, just like Alex is saying there, we had people that had everybody that we worked with had a completely different routine. We had a completely different routine. It definitely, even for myself, it took me maybe 2 weeks to actually start to get on top of that and start to put some of the things in play. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, so for me, I sort of agree with everything there. The routine is the hardest thing, but probably something that we haven't mentioned is that just being able to cope with being indoors with your family for all that time. If you've got other people in the house, like me with a kid, it's been challenging, I will say. Thank God for nursery and school, because I don't know how I'd cope without it. But you like Alex says, I've been getting up every morning. I've been sticking to my morning routine anyway. I knew it was quite important. It was something that we were talking about week one, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes, like Alex said, it doesn't really matter what you've planned and what you've scheduled. If you don't stick to that structure and you don't do the things that you said you was going to do at the times, it's very hard to catch up. I had like a discussion, I'll say, with Shaw as well the first few weeks, and that like I could be doing something and all of a sudden you realise you've not spoke to the kids for 4 hours You're in the house, you are looking after them. So you've got to sort of bring that in as well. From my point of view, you've got all these new things that you've got to get control of right away. And if you don't, like, it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to sort of lose focus. It's very easy. I mean, it has been difficult, hasn't it, for people? There's no question. This is the probably most difficult situation, or certainly the biggest change in routine that I believe that most of our clients have ever had. They've got more uncertainty, more chaos than they've ever had to deal with. And I said in my email this morning, it's not necessarily that people normally have a problem with motivation. They don't normally have a problem with organising. Like Alex said there, you just spend a little bit longer doing things that normally you might have a 5-minute breakfast. Now you might have an hour-long break coming in that you really need to try to nip it in the bud and get on with like as normal as you can. Get the structure in place as soon as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that you've been putting in some things to change that and to start that routine. Like you were going for a walk in the morning. We've been doing this ice showers and cold showers and things like that when you get up, just as something that's going to be, look, what's my new trigger to sort of start my day, to make sure that I am on form now, that I'm not staying in bed until 10 o'clock or whatever. I know that it wouldn't be possible anyway for you with the kids, but you put things in pretty early on, didn't you? Within the first couple of days of being in lockdown, to being like, right, I am going to have to pull something back in so that
I set rules. The way that I go is that I set rules. One of the best things for me is that I set rules and behaviours that I have to stick to. That's something that I've learned and developed over the past 18 months. It's the same with, like, if you fancy a beer in the afternoon, look at the weather's been great, hasn't it? So at like 3 o'clock, when you're making the barbecue tea or whatever, and someone says, do you want a beer? It's now on a Wednesday, normally I wouldn't be tempted to have a beer on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. So that's another thing that sort of you get this opportunity now that, hang on, is this all right? And for a few weeks, it is difficult, but I set a rule that I can only drink maybe once or twice a week. I actually changed it while I've been on lockdown. It was once, it's now twice. But I've sort of...
It'll go back to once if it starts raining more.
The thing is yeah, I'll go back to once if it does rain. But the thing is that them sort of things, if I set rules and say, this is how I'm going to do, it's the same when we talk about nutrition and dieting, isn't it? One reason that we set calories and we meal prep is so that it takes away the sort of guesswork and the opportunity and option to break the rule. I tend to sort of stick to doing what I said I would do and try to. Like I said about the cold shower thing in the morning, all that is something that I have to challenge myself. I have to be seeing a challenge straight away. I work well under pressure, but I also want to challenge every day. That was something that I just said, if I don't really want to have a cold shower, I don't really enjoy it. But if I do it and make that commitment, it changes the way that I think about the full day. And it genuinely does. It works pretty well for me. Other people meditate or whatever. Different things work for different people. Al, what about you on that?
Yeah, Alex, before, just on that point as well, I mean, what have you found in terms of the differences of being in work? Because I know that obviously you've got a lot of tasks to do, but again, I mean, the way that we're working at the minute is sort of, rather than this time you're going to be doing this, it is a case of these are the tasks that we need to get done. So you, again, putting a routine in, the schedule in and things. Have you got anything in place at the minute that says, right, well, this is my routine, this is my schedule, or are you just trying to sort of pick it all out of everywhere?
Well, it's similar to when I was at work before. Every morning, I'll outline my day of the tasks and put them into a priority order. So be it if I've got to get back to check-ins and whatnot, they all become in an order. And anything that I don't do then rolls over onto the day after. So I think because I haven't got that structure, as I'm in at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm finishing at 6, it's pretty much 7 days and I'm just doing the tasks when I need to be. Yeah. Learning to work in a flexible manner, but still get the job done it's been quite a bit of a learning curve more than anything. But I'm finding it good, challenging, but good. And it's almost making me more focused on getting the tasks done. Whereas when we're in the gym, you're training clients and you jump into the tasks, and now it's getting me focused on, all right, this is what I've got to do. I've got to finish it, and I'm probably doing a more of a thorough and a better job now than I was before, because I haven't got you guys just to bob on and have a conversation with. I've got to get everything done and right for the clients who aren't seeing me on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that my approach has been sort of really similar as well, in terms of I've got a set time where I'll make sure that I'm up. For me, if obviously you two will know this, I tend not to do early mornings anymore because I did it for a long time and I am useless before about 8 o'clock in the morning. So for me, obviously having that sort of normal time, wake up at about 7:30, well, I just stuck with that. That was my normal routine. That's when I'll get up. I usually sort of stay awake doing work till a little bit later in the night. So I had that. But again, I've got a to-do list, and something that I had a couple of weeks ago is now a done list as well. So on the board, on my whiteboard where I've got this to-do list, underneath it, when a task has been done, it'll come off and go into the done list. And I think for the day, it's very easy when you're busy and when you're task focused to sort of sit and do loads of little bits and think, what have I actually done today? Getting to the end of the day and not really seeing what you've accomplished. I think that's been a big sort of benefit for me, is adding this done list and seeing all the tasks that we've actually managed to get done in a week. I was going through it with Jamie this morning before we had the main sort of team meeting. And again, just there was so many, there was sort of 10, 15 tasks a day that, this needed doing, this got done. Really good to see. So guys, I mean, moving on from structure a little bit, from the sort of chaos of it, and we'll come back to this when we're giving action points, but motivation, I think, has been a massive, massive thing that people have struggled with a little bit trying to train at home. So either that's just they feel like they don't enjoy training at home, it's a different routine, unclear on what they can actually achieve, but also feeling like they've just not got the right sort of space to work out and things, just not motivated, not really feeling structured. Have you guys been finding that yourself? What have you been doing to help with motivation? What have you been working on with your clients, just to help them to feel focused and motivated, to be driving towards a goal? What sort of things have we been putting in? Jay, do you want to start with that one?
Well, it's not really been that much of a change. Me personally, I've trained more in this past 3 weeks than I probably have ever before. Not ever, but certainly over the past sort of 18 months, I think. And I think that for some of the clients, it has been something that all right, they've got to get over that first shock of what's going on and everything else. But for some of them, it's given them an opportunity. The clients that's realised the opportunity that's been presented to them are actually sort of doing quite well. They listen to the webinars and they've been on board with, this is something that I need to get used to pretty quick, and something that I need to plan and have in. I think motivation is that thing that, like I said, you can either sort of choose to accept the current situation and just try to hope for the best and let it pass. But the majority of people realise that their goals, and we're lucky, aren't we, because our client base pretty much values to quite a high degree health and fitness in their life. So we know that is valuable to them, whether or not they got told to stay indoors. That might have thrown people a little bit, but as soon as we've been able to realign those values, as soon as we've been able to say, look, why did you start with FX in the first place? And they say, I wanted to feel happy about myself. Well, you'll realise that if you don't train and you're not training, then that sort of feeling of feeling happy and feeling fit, healthy, doing it for whatever those reasons that you did it in the first place for, just because you're in your house now, that hasn't changed. Before the gym, those was the feelings that motivated you to get the workout done. So just because the gym's not there, then feelings and the things that motivated you then will motivate you again now. And as soon as you can picture that, as soon as you can align them, I've just been using that. And my clients saying, it takes a few weeks to be like, you know what, you're right, for some of them. But I think if people was to ask themselves, and we use the question, why are you here? Why do you come to FX in the first place? There's not many things on that list of reasons why they do it in the first place that aren't still there just because they can't access the actual centre. They just need to find a new way to get those things that they say and we know are really important to them.
Yeah, I think that one of the key things as well from that, I mean, we obviously have the key five, and before we even get into the key five, if we're working through this with clients, we look at that ultimate focus, that goal setting side of things. And that's so important, even just having, just the really basics of having a clear vision of where you want to get to, breaking it down into smart goals and what's in there, because I think one of the things is that people in general, most people, certainly most of our clients, can actually still make a hell of a lot of progress at the minute, training with body weight, training with light weights, training from home. There's still 9/10 of the thing, 90% or more that they can be working on and be making massive progress with. So yeah, you know, being if it was a bodybuilder that was trying to get from sort of one level to the next, and it might be difficult to be putting muscle on without a gym. In every other situation, getting some more muscle mass, getting leaner, getting fitter, getting healthier, getting that blood pressure down, getting you know, in control of your blood sugars and things like that. And generally just feeling better, just moving better, adding quality of movement, adding actual strength, adding things that can transfer. I think that all of those are things that everybody can be working on at the minute. Alex, what have you found from like the motivation point of view and the finding time and opportunity to work out?
Well, my motivation at the minute is more of being a role model to the clients that I'm talking to. I'm a big believer that I'm telling these clients that they're in a situation they don't necessarily want to be in, stuck training the home. I wouldn't feel right if I wasn't putting myself in that same situation and living their journey with them. So my motivation is to eat and breathe and exude everything that I'm saying to my clients, and hopefully that will motivate them to follow their goals and whatnot. So yeah, if I can put some of my passion and across to them whilst I'm still doing it all with them, and they know that I'm there with them. I think that's from the people I spoke to last week. It seems to be helping a lot of people. Just knowing that I'm there, doing it with them.
Yeah, I think that's massive as well. Like, I mean, again, something that I'm doing the exact same sort of thing is that I'm still my training for the last 5 weeks has been at home. You know, it's been at home with a kettlebell, and like I've been sort of asking clients to do. Some of our clients have got full home gyms. You know, some of them are in really good sort of situations. But if I'm telling people, you know what, you can do this, you can get to those goals without necessarily needing the gym at the minute for this phase. It's something that I've wanted to do. You know, I'm joining in on this 6-week transformation challenge for the clients and things like that, getting on top of things. Because again, it's something that regardless of what level of fitness you're at, this is something that we absolutely believe, and we know that you can still make massive progress by just making the changes that we're telling people to do. So I think that's been really useful to see sort of yourself, see Jamie, see me, for our clients, see us actually training and dealing with this situation rather than sort of me going down to the gym and just training as normal, adapting to this situation, having the same challenges as everyone else. And same in terms of food. Like I noticed last week for myself that diet was starting to slip. And when I've sat back over the weekend and I was sort of like, right, well, why is that slipping? There was two reasons. Is that one, I was getting a little bit less clear on my goal in terms of I've got this overall goal, but I was a bit less clear on sort of timeframes and things. I was fine with it 4 weeks ago, but then I'd sort of hit what I wanted to achieve. I never sat down and did the review like I always would do with clients, always would do for myself. So I didn't sit down and reflect on it and realize that last week, a hell of a lot of bad options for food and bad options for drink and things like that were creeping in. You know, rather than having a protein bar mid-morning like I usually would, I'd be getting an ice cream out in the back garden and things while I was doing some work. And that type of thing just crept in without me really realizing. And then when I've reflected and looked at it, a lot of that is just bad organization. It's just not having the routine last week, not having meal times planned, not having the supplements in that I might usually have when I'm dieting or when I'm training, and just being in a completely different structure. So I think that even for me, this, 4 weeks ago, I had a perfect routine in terms of I knew when I was going to eat because I put that in straight away because it was important. And then that just sort of started creeping out of structure, out of alignment, and bad food started creeping in. And before you know it, you end up in a completely different routine with your food, with your diet, and even with your training to what you would have been or would have liked to have been. So I think for all of our clients, I think, and everybody listening to this, making sure that you just look at, if you're making mistakes with your diet, you know that it's not perfect, You just look at why that's happening, and you just look at what can you do to, to make it easier. And that, I suppose that's where habits comes in, is that habit coaching is, and using these daily habits and just making the right choices easy is something that we speak about all the time. It's, if there's only balls of Twix in your cupboard and you're hungry and you've no time, you've sort of not planned when you're going to eat, and you're craving some food, you're going to go and get the bar of Twix. If you've got protein bars and you know what times you're eating, or you've got shakes, then you'll be able to stick to your diet. And I think a lot of that comes down to habits. Alex, what do you do in terms of, I know that you do a lot of habit coaching with all of our clients at FX, with everyone there, but what are you doing at the minute to help people get on top of these habits and just put things in that are going to help day to day?
Well, the first thing is identifying which habit is going to be the most beneficial to them. So whether it's an exercise, working out time that they're struggling with, or whether it's nutrition, and then it's finding a habit that's going to be is easy enough to do, but it's going to give a big result and a fulfilling result at the end of it. So something as simple as like going for a walk every day. 20 minutes, people can do that, but adding value to that 20 minutes of walking, and in 2 weeks' time when they jump on the scales, just by adding that in, they'll be towards the goal. So it's really finding the trigger for the motivate them, and it's always bringing it, like we said, bringing it always back to that goal of what they want to achieve. There's no point putting a habit in for someone if they can't see the value in it towards their goal. So
I agree, and I think as well that just the same point but in a different way is that people sometimes prioritize the wrong thing, or try to make a habit on level 10 when they're not even doing level 1 or 2 yet. We speak a lot about nutrition in the first thing, and people first question is, what about my macro split? What about my am I eating carbs?
What supplements do I need and things
what supplements I need? When really these guys are not even considering tracking the calories yet. They're not necessarily eating the fruit or veg, or they haven't got structure to the diet. We've got all these simple things that they need to look, what do I need to do this week? All right, by day 30, by 29 on this new sort of 30-day challenge that we have, by the sort of a few weeks in, you want to be moving towards that, but you've got to make sure that you get the simple things done right. Get your shopping in on time. Organize what you're going to be eating. Make sure you got
sleep. Not to sleep.
And I think people try so hard because they see someone else is doing something. They try to put a habit in that's going to help them achieve the perfect macro split each day without being able to sort of sit back and say, what do I need to do first? What needs to be the first thing? What do I need to do today? And how can I improve that tomorrow? I think it's really important people pull it back to keeping it simple. Same with exercise, should I go for a run for whatever? When, if that person isn't already doing some form of exercise, we'd never suggest to go straight into 100 mile an hour. We'd always start at level 1 and then get to level 2, 3, 4, 5. Habit coaching and nutrition should be the same. The amount of people that speak to us at the minute about the mindset and about motivation, yet they haven't considered that as something that they need to prioritize every day. Yet for the past 3 weeks, that's the one thing that's been stopping them doing the workout. It's not the actual workout, it's the mindset, it's the being able to get control of the mind to make them want to go and do a workout. Not necessarily what's wrote down on the app or what's what they have to do. It's being able to say, this is why I'm doing it and this is what I want to achieve from it.
This is exactly sort of the concept of our key 5 that we use at FX as well, in terms of, people ask me all the time about, they focus on the micro details in the workouts as well. And it might be just the strength training sessions. They might have a goal of fat loss and they've got strength training sessions that they're progressing. And they might be looking at every bit of detail in those strength sessions, but they might not be doing any conditioning work at all. They might not be spending any time on doing anything to help the cardio, anything to help them with the actual sort of fat loss goal. And same in terms of nutrition. They might be so focused on these minute details in one part of the training session or one aspect of the program as a whole, and missing everything in terms of recovery, everything in terms of relaxation, in terms of refocusing, mindset, fulfillment, all that side of things. So that's obviously why, you know, at FX we've got these key fives. We've got the training, nutrition, which obviously is sort of standard, but then we've also got fulfillment, relaxation, and recovery, which pulls everything together. That if there's any of those things that you're not considering, what we know from, you know, all three of us doing this for the last sort of decade with a hell of a lot of people, is that whatever part of those five is missing, and that includes actually the focus that sits just above that, the actual goal setting side of it as well. Whatever part of this is missing, that's going to be the thing. It doesn't matter how important or unimportant you think it is. That's going to be the thing that stops you achieving your goals. So I think it's you know, mega key really that people are considering that. Alex, just bringing it back to what you were saying as well in terms of these folks, and actually Jamie, the point that you just made, focusing on these daily habits and these simple things. I suppose that's the entire focus of this 30-day challenge that we've put on at the minute, is rather than focusing on the sort of details at the far end, we are focusing on the big wins. What are the big things that everybody should be able to do, should be able to put in place? What are the key habits that you can start to work on? That we've seen this work with people. We've seen people lose a lot of body fat. We've seen people improve their performance just by getting on top of these habits without even looking at the actual macros and looking at the next level of their sort of nutrition journey. It's just, what types of foods are you eating? Do you have a basic understanding of your sort of calories or what's in your food? Are you having veg in your meals? Do you know what protein is and where you'll find it and what good sources are and things? I think that's where the 30-day challenge comes in. Alex, obviously you're helping us out with that. So do you want to go into that a little bit?
Definitely. The 30-day challenge is, I think, is going to be something really good for current clients, clients that have been maybe out of it for the last 4 weeks, and at all different stages of where you are in terms of your fitness levels, or you starting your day right. You might be some breakfast to come through where they're tracking the calories, and they've got an understanding of where they're at. But for that person, we can then push them onto the more advanced stuff. So are you getting your veg, your fruit, and different things there, or take it onto a newbie who's having either skipping breakfast or having the refined sugars and cereals and coffees to power food. We can then target them in the same way, but under the same bracket of we're starting your day right. That person's there, but that person is on the other side. But the goals are still the same, to improve the way that they start the day. And going forward for all the different sections, just because someone's been doing it longer or have got grips to something more, doesn't mean that the goal for that section is going to be any different for a newbie to an experienced person. And that's why I think that this challenge will be wonderful for everybody. I encourage everyone to get on board for that. And it's just, everyone's going to learn something new. The cooking along that I'm going to be doing on Thursday, I'm really looking forward to. With it, I've got my apron all ready for it, but I'm going to be using the lockdown as a way to get quite creative in the kitchen. So a lot of people have told me that they're struggling for ideas because the shops aren't stocking what they should do. So basically, I'm just going to, everything that I'm making is store cupboard things, and it's opening people's eyes up to, for breakfast, it's not just porridge and a coffee. It's, you could have porridge with some egg whites, some blueberries. The world's your oyster. I mean, hopefully, you could put oysters in your porridge if you wanted. But hopefully, from my videos and the discussions, we can get other people chipping in with different ideas. Oh, I didn't know I could try that. Oh, I'm going to try this. Why don't this works really well? And hopefully, we can get ideas from everybody, and all 60, 70 odd of the people that are on the course at the minute will benefit and be healthier and set themselves up better than they did at the start.
100%. And I think that, when we look at the people that actually achieve the goals and the people that get to where they want to be, again, your goals are always going to be set at the level that you're at. So it's not about mastery of any one area. It's not about sort of, shooting to do the same as someone else does that you see on Instagram, or, you know, doing all the fancy stuff. It's about just getting the basics right in each area. If you get the basics right in terms of mindset, in terms of goal setting, in terms of habits, in terms of nutrition, in terms of, you know, balancing your training and your recovery, you know, doing that and working on the basics, working on these foundations across all areas will always, always, always lead to better results than someone that just really masters one area but completely ignores all the rest. I think that, you know, we can start to probably wrap this up. So from my point of view, where I think people need to be looking, I mean, if they've been a little bit unsure on what they're doing because they're in lockdown and they're at home, they're working from home, or they might not be working at all, the routine's chaotic, they're not really motivated, not sure in working out. I think that job one, and I think that we'd all agree, is, you know, get clear on that goal. Make sure that you've got a goal. Make sure that that goal is specific to, you know, to what you really want to achieve. You know, why do you want to achieve that? So rather than I just want to get fit, I just want to lose body fat, really clear picture of why. Once you've got that, let's start to break it down. And we've done this in the 30-day challenge with the intake form that's saying, what do you want to achieve over the next 30 days? Making sure that you've got something measurable, you know what you're actually looking at to monitor how this is going. General sort of smart goal setting, and we will be helping people out with that throughout the challenge, obviously, as we get into it. But once you've got this, and once you then sort of know what you're trying to achieve, I think that it's a case of making sure that you plan your week, you get that structure, you put your routine in place. I am going to train at these times, I'm going to eat at these times, and this is what I need to achieve in those training sessions. This is what my nutrition should be achieving. Once you've got that plan, for me, it's a case of committing to it. You know, some days you'll feel really motivated to train. Other days you might not. You might just feel it might be something that you just need to go and get done. That's certainly something that I think people need to be aware of, is that set it up so that everything's as easy and as obvious and, you know, as attractive as possible. You might want to train most of the time, but if it's on the plan, you know that you should still really be doing it. Probably make sure that even if it doesn't feel perfect that day and it's a bit hard work because of other things that you've had going on, if you can still commit to getting those workouts done and sticking to your diet on those days, that's going to make a massive impact. Just an awareness of when you're on track, when you're off track, and rather than it being the issue being the fact that you are getting a takeaway and a few beers every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night at the minute, it might be, why is that happening? Rather than saying, I'm going to stop that, look at why is that happening? What alternatives have I got? Guys, anything to add before we finish?
No, I think that's it.
I think that's all good.
Awesome. Right, guys. Thank you, obviously, for jumping on. We'll try and get another one done next week or within the next couple of days, just to help people out on the next topics throughout this 30-day challenge. Cheers for joining me. See you later.
Cheers, bye.
See you. Bye.